Hey guys, tonight we begin with a journey into one of the most enigmatic and intriguing topics whispered about in the shadows of history. The CIA time travel project. Real or fabricated? In the quiet corridors of intelligence, where secrets are woven into every wall and every locked file, rumors have persisted for decades. Some speak of ordinary scientists exploring the extraordinary. Others hint at experiments that could stretch the boundaries of our very understanding of time. Tonight, we will wander gently through these stories, exploring both the documented truths and the tantalizing possibilities that lie just beyond reach. Together, we will visit hidden laboratories, meet the minds behind the clandestine projects, and glimpse into the unknown realms of temporal experimentation. We will explore psychic phenomena, quantum mysteries, and the most shadowed corridors of history where government secrecy meets imagination. Before we settle in and begin our peaceful journey, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, only if what I share here truly resonates with you. Your support helps me create more of these videos, and if you feel like it, let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see the many corners of the world where we connect now. Dim the lights, make yourself comfortable, and let's ease into tonight's journey together as we explore what lies ahead. Chapter 1: The Origins of the Project. In the wake of World War II, the world shifted in ways both visible and invisible. The global landscape was not just a map of nations, but a map of ideas, technologies, and possibilities that few could truly imagine. Among the most secretive corridors of this new world, the Central Intelligence Agency quietly began to explore ideas that stretched the very fabric of human understanding. The post-war era was a time of urgency. The Cold War loomed, bringing with it the fear of falling behind in science, technology, and espionage. And it was during this time that the CIA began to take an interest in unconventional science. Fields that many considered fringe, even fantastical psychic research, telepathy, and remote viewing became topics of serious inquiry. Declassified documents reveal programs such as the Stargate project, in which the minds of gifted individuals were tested for their ability to perceive events from distant places, even from across borders. Yet, amidst these documented efforts, whispers linger of something even more extraordinary. Some former intelligence analysts spoke in hushed tones about secret chronology research units, laboratories hidden far beneath the surface of the Earth, where scientists were tasked not merely with observing the world, but with understanding the flow of time itself. The story goes that these early experiments in psychic phenomena and remote viewing were not isolated curiosities, but part of a larger vision, a vision that sought to explore whether time could be influenced and perhaps even navigated. Imagine for a moment the scene: a dimly lit laboratory, rows of monitors flickering with data, scientists huddled over complex machines that hum with the energy of unseen forces. Objects disappear, reappear, and in the quiet moments, there are whispers of glimpses into events yet to come. Whether these were merely the projections of overworked minds or something more, remains a question that has haunted the corridors of history ever since. It was in this environment of secrecy, curiosity, and relentless experimentation that the seeds of what we now call the CIA time travel project were planted. The combination of real scientific inquiry, human ingenuity, and the allure of the unknown created a fertile ground for ideas that would challenge the very nature of time itself. As we move deeper into this journey, we will explore the places where these experiments may have taken place, the devices that could have made them possible, and the stories of those who claim to have witnessed phenomena that defy conventional understanding. And in doing so, we will begin to see a picture that is at once both grounded in reality and touched by the extraordinary. Chapter 2: The Secret Labs and Hidden Facilities. As the vision of temporal exploration began to take shape within the halls of the CIA, the need for secrecy became paramount. Ideas that could alter our understanding of reality are rarely welcomed in the light of day, and so the work moved underground, sometimes literally, into facilities that existed beyond the reach of ordinary maps or schedules. It is said that the CIA in its early decades established a network of black sites, some above ground yet completely hidden from public view, and others buried deep beneath the earth in what could only be described as subterranean labyrinths. These facilities were more than just laboratories, they were sanctuaries of mystery, where only the most trusted personnel were allowed, and where even the walls seemed to whisper secrets too sensitive for casual ears. Among these clandestine operations, rumours persist of laboratories with names that remain classified, locations that have never been confirmed, and security measures that were as sophisticated as the experiments themselves. Some reports describe heavily shielded bunkers with electromagnetic isolation chambers designed to prevent even the faintest signal from escaping into the outside world. Others hint at sprawling underground complexes, where vast networks of corridors connected rooms filled with equipment that glowed faintly with an eerie blue light, as though the very energy of the universe had been captured within their walls. Within these facilities, it is alleged that teams of scientists, engineers, physicists, and even psychics worked side by side, tasked with experiments that blurred the line between science and speculation. One story describes a lab that supposedly contained a prototype time portal, an apparatus designed to manipulate the flow of time using principles derived from quantum entanglement and electromagnetic fields. The idea, as recounted by former security personnel who have chosen to remain anonymous, was that small objects could be placed into this device and disappear from one point in time, only to reappear moments, or in some accounts, hours later. These black sites were not merely laboratories, they were carefully constructed ecosystems of secrecy and control. Security protocols were extreme, often involving multiple layers of biometric identification, armed personnel, and continuous surveillance. Access to these areas was strictly on a need-to-know basis, and even then many workers reported feelings of disorientation and unease as if the very environment subtly resisted being observed. Some employees later described equipment vanishing without explanation, computers losing entire data sets, and at times, even colleagues disappearing temporarily, leaving no record of their presence. These stories, while unverifiable, became part of the lore that surrounded the project, whispered from one cautious insider to another, growing in detail with each telling. Beyond the underground complexes, there were reports of above-ground facilities cloaked in the mundane, seemingly ordinary buildings that hid extraordinary capabilities. Some facilities were disguised as warehouses or research centres for mundane government projects, yet inside they contained high-energy experimental chambers, sophisticated particle accelerators, and devices connected to theories of temporal physics. Security guards recount evenings when strange lights, unexplainable energy discharges, and unusual vibrations were observed in areas restricted even to themselves. In rare cases, they claim to have witnessed objects suspended in mid-air or disappearing entirely, only to reappear minutes later in another part of the complex. These accounts, when combined, paint a picture of experimentation that was both breathtaking in ambition and chilling in its secrecy. It is in these hidden spaces that some of the first serious attempts to manipulate time were said to have occurred. The CIA's interest in advanced aerospace technologies, such as the development of stealth aircraft and high-speed reconnaissance vehicles, provided both cover and insight into the challenges of navigating physical space. Extending this understanding into the realm of temporal experimentation required imagination, courage, and a willingness to explore the unknown. In the quiet hum of subterranean laboratories, scientists reportedly experimented with stabilizing micro-wormholes, trying to anchor fleeting moments in time, testing theories that merged quantum physics with the uncharted possibilities of temporal displacement. Yet, for every story of success, there were tales of frustration, anomalies, and unexplained phenomena. Lights flickered without cause, instruments recorded readings that contradicted all known science, and in some accounts, entire rooms seemed to ripple subtly, as if reality itself were bending in response to unseen forces. Former employees who spoke of these events often emphasized the atmosphere, a delicate balance between wonder and unease, where the line between imagination and reality was so thin that one could almost step across it without noticing. In this way, these secret labs and hidden facilities of the CIA became more than places of work. They were portals into the possible, spaces where the laws of known physics were challenged with every experiment. They were sanctuaries of ambition, curiosity, and mystery, and they remain shrouded in secrecy to this day. Every whispered account, every anecdote adds to the tapestry of intrigue, leaving us to wonder what truly occurred behind these fortified walls, far from the eyes of the public, in the quiet hours when the world above continued on its ordinary path. It is within this shadowed framework of secrecy that the story of temporal experimentation begins to unfold, bridging the realms of science, speculation, and imagination. As we move forward, we will explore the hypotheses that may have guided these experiments, the visions glimpsed by those attempting to manipulate time, and the remarkable stories of objects and perhaps even people briefly displaced from one moment to another. In understanding the nature of these facilities, we begin to see the extraordinary care, precision, and ambition that made the CIA's Temporal project not just possible, but profoundly compelling. Chapter 3: The Quantum Leap Hypothesis. As we venture further into the hidden depths of the CIA's temporal explorations, we begin to encounter the delicate threads of science that may have formed the foundation of the project. Among the most fascinating and elusive of these is what insiders and theorists have come to call the quantum leap hypothesis, a concept that bridges known physics with the tantalizing possibilities of time manipulation. The idea begins with the principles of quantum mechanics, a field of study that has long revealed the strangeness and subtlety of the universe. In this domain, particles exist in multiple states at once, and the act of observation itself can alter the outcome of experiments. It is a world where reality is probabilistic, and where what seems impossible on a human scale becomes feasible at the subatomic level. For the CIA and the scientists working in secret laboratories, these properties presented both a challenge and an opportunity. One of the key ideas explored, according to whispers from former intelligence personnel, was the concept of micro-wormholes. These theoretical constructs, minute folds in the fabric of space-time, could potentially serve as conduits between different points in time. While the mathematics behind wormholes had long been debated among physicists, the CIA's ambition was to stabilize them, even briefly, to allow physical objects to move forward or backward through time. The challenge, of course, was extraordinary. A micro-wormhole is inherently unstable. The slightest fluctuation in energy, temperature, or electromagnetic interference could collapse it instantly. Yet in these hidden laboratories, it is said that teams of physicists, engineers, and experimentalists worked tirelessly to maintain stability, carefully calibrating magnetic fields lasers and quantum sensors to coax the wormholes into existence. Accounts from retired personnel describe small-scale experiments in which inanimate objects were placed inside containment chambers surrounded by oscillating electromagnetic fields. Monitors recorded fluctuations in quantum states, sometimes producing results that were inexplicable by conventional science. In one whispered anecdote, a metal sphere disappeared from one side of the chamber only to reappear 27 minutes later, unchanged yet slightly warm to the touch, as if it had absorbed the energy of another time. While these stories cannot be verified, they reflect the intense curiosity, precision, and cautious optimism that reportedly defined the work. Beyond the manipulation of micro-wormholes, the quantum leap hypothesis also involved the application of relativistic physics. Time, as Einstein described, is not a constant. It bends and stretches with velocity and gravity. The CIA's aerospace experiments with high-speed reconnaissance planes, like the SR-71 Blackbird, may have provided crucial data about temporal dilation. Engineers and scientists observed that even small deviations in speed or trajectory at extreme velocities could alter the flow of time for onboard instruments, an observation that may have inspired early theoretical models for controlled temporal displacement. The convergence of quantum mechanics and relativity in these experiments created an environment where theory and imagination intertwined. Theoretical physicists reportedly proposed controlled experiments using entangled particles, believing that if one particle could be manipulated through a wormhole, its twin might reveal measurable changes in the future or past. It is said that these experiments were often highly secretive, with results documented in coded files and stored in secure archives deep within CIA-controlled facilities. Some accounts suggest that the quantum leap hypothesis even inspired attempts to incorporate conscious observation into the experiments. Drawing upon the early psychic research of the Stargate project, certain experimental designs sought to pair human consciousness with quantum processes, the idea being that a trained observer might stabilize the wormhole through focused attention or intention. Though extraordinary, these reports suggest a blending of mind and matter, where the perception of time itself could be influenced by awareness, creating the possibility, however slight, of witnessing future events or nudging objects along temporal pathways. Stories from former insiders paint an almost dreamlike picture of these laboratories at work. A room filled with softly humming equipment, lights flickering in delicate patterns, scientists carefully recording readings as a small object is placed into a containment field. Outside the chamber, a team watches monitors displaying data that seems to ripple and shimmer, as though the object inside is dancing between moments. When the experiment ends, the object reappears, and the team pores over the readings, searching for anomalies, subtle changes, anything that hints at a successful leap through time. Even more remarkable are the tales of unintended effects. Some describe small bursts of static, sudden drops in temperature, or brief lapses in memory among observers. Phenomena that some theorists suggest might have been side effects of temporal displacement. Others recount instances where equipment failed inexplicably, or where data suggested that events recorded in the future had subtly altered the present. Whether real or the product of collective imagination, these accounts contribute to the aura of mystery surrounding the project, offering tantalizing hints that time may have been more malleable than ordinary science would allow. The quantum leap hypothesis represents a turning point in the narrative of the CIA's temporal explorations. It moves us from the hidden corridors of secret laboratories into the realm of possibility, where quantum mechanics, relativity, and human ingenuity intersect. It challenges our understanding of the world and invites us to imagine a universe where time is not a fixed line, but a fluid medium, responsive to careful experimentation, advanced technology, and perhaps even consciousness itself. As we continue our journey, we'll explore the integration of psychic research with these experiments, the claims of remote viewing into future events, and the astonishing stories of controlled tests that may have brought fragments of the future into the present. In doing so, we draw ever closer to the heart of the mystery, where the boundaries between science, imagination, and temporal reality blur into a fascinating tapestry of the unknown. Chapter 4: Remote Viewing and the Time Experiment. As we step gently into the next layer of the CIA's extraordinary investigations, we encounter the mysterious and captivating world of psychic research, a field that, at first glance, seems more the domain of imagination than science. Yet, in the post-World War II era, the CIA took these possibilities seriously, exploring the potential of the human mind as a tool for intelligence gathering, the Stargate project. Perhaps the most well-known of these programs officially studied remote viewing, the ability of individuals to perceive distant locations or events beyond the reach of normal senses. But behind the official narrative lies a shadow dimension, where some believe remote viewing became entwined with the very experiments that sought to explore time itself. Imagine a room dimly lit, the soft glow of monitoring screens casting gentle shadows across walls lined with scientific instruments. In the center, a trained individual sits quietly, eyes closed, focused entirely inward, as though stepping through a doorway that exists only in the mind. Around them, scientists record subtle changes in biofeedback, heart rate, brain waves, and eye movement, while carefully comparing their reports to actual events. In some cases, the results were astonishing. Viewers describe detailed imagery of locations they could not have known through ordinary observation, sometimes with startling accuracy. Some former participants, speaking under conditions of anonymity, claimed that certain exercises went beyond mere spatial observation. They reported glimpses of events that had not yet occurred, moments that seemed to float ahead of the present. These instances, fleeting as they were, suggested the possibility of temporal perception, a capacity to witness the near future or detect echoes of events yet to unfold. Whether this was the result of extraordinary intuition, statistical coincidence, or something more profound, the CIA appears to have explored these abilities with remarkable seriousness. Whispers and rumors, passed along cautiously by those who once worked with these programs, suggest that the most advanced remote viewers were eventually tasked with exercises explicitly designed to probe time. In specially shielded laboratories, often located in the black sites we visited in imagination, these individuals were asked to see into the future, describing events, moments, or even hours ahead. In some accounts, objects that had been subjected to micro-wormhole experiments seemed to appear in the minds of viewers before physical confirmation. Observers reported feelings of disorientation, as if their perception of linear time had been subtly altered, allowing them to sense events that had not yet occurred in their own timeline. The combination of psychic perception with experimental technology represents one of the most fascinating intersections in the project. Scientists reportedly theorize that the human mind, when trained and focused, could act as a stabilizing force for temporal experiments. If a micro-wormhole could be opened, even briefly, the concentrated awareness of a trained observer might help maintain the connection, allowing objects or even information to traverse small temporal distances. This is a notion that exists at the boundary between physics and consciousness, blending the tangible and the intangible, the measurable and the immeasurable. eyewitness accounts from retired analysts describe sessions where viewers were asked to describe events involving specific test objects. The results, according to these accounts, were sometimes eerily precise. A small device placed in a temporal containment chamber might be described in exact detail by a viewer, moments before the monitoring team could verify its status. In one particularly compelling story, a remote viewer reported observing subtle distortions in the surrounding environment, describing the movement of energy fields and shifts in the position of laboratory equipment, long before any instruments registered the phenomenon. The researchers, initially skeptical, began to consider the possibility that these mental observations were not mere imagination, but a reflection of events occurring in a different temporal context. It is within these experiments that the project reportedly blurred the boundary between mind and matter, between observer and observed. The careful coordination of psychic abilities with highly controlled technology created an environment in which the seemingly impossible became, if only momentarily, plausible. While the notion of seeing the future may sound fantastical, those who worked with these programs consistently emphasized the precision and dedication involved, noting that even small successes required immense focus, meticulous methodology, and repeated testing under highly controlled conditions. These exercises were not without consequence. Some viewers reported lingering effects on their perception of time, describing moments where the present felt elongated or compressed, or where the memory of an event seemed to exist simultaneously with its anticipation. Others spoke of dreams that reflected events yet to come, reinforcing the sense that the mind could, under rare circumstances, interface with temporal currents in ways that science is only beginning to theorize. As we reflect on these accounts, we begin to see the elegance and audacity of the CIA's approach. Rather than relying solely on mechanical or electronic experimentation, they explored the untapped potential of human consciousness as a partner in the study of time. In this blending of psychic research and temporal science, we encounter a vision of possibility, a world where mind and matter, observation and reality, converge to reveal glimpses of what may lie ahead. The time experiments conducted alongside remote viewing hint at a profound ambition, not merely to observe the future, but perhaps, in subtle ways, to influence it. Whether through the placement of objects, the calibration of energy fields, or the directed attention of the human mind, these programs explored the extraordinary idea that time is not a fixed river, but a landscape that may respond to skill, intention, and precise experimentation. In this chapter, we see that the CIA's exploration of time was not limited to mechanical devices or theoretical equations. It extended into the human mind, embracing the mysterious potential of perception, intuition, and foresight. The stories of remote viewing, when coupled with the whispered accounts of temporal displacement experiments, paint a portrait of a program that was both audacious and profoundly human, blending curiosity, imagination, and scientific rigor in pursuit of a possibility that remains, even today, just beyond the grasp of ordinary understanding. Chapter 5: The Mysterious Disappearances. As we descend further into the depths of the CIA's temporal explorations, we begin to encounter one of the most unsettling and enigmatic aspects of the project: the accounts of disappearances, both of personnel and experimental objects. These are not the casual losses or administrative oversights one might expect in any large organization. These disappearances are whispered about in the corridors of intelligence as deliberate, mysterious, and sometimes temporary events. Moments where the known world seemed to bend and a person or object simply vanished from sight, only to reappear hours, days, or in rare accounts, never at all. The historical record of the CIA and other intelligence operations does confirm a pattern of missing personnel in classified programs. Officially, these are often attributed to secrecy, reassignment, or unfortunate accidents, yet stories circulating among retired agents and laboratory staff suggest something far more extraordinary. Within the shadowed halls of underground laboratories, employees describe tense moments when a scientist, a technician, or even an armed security officer would step into a chamber for routine experiments and simply vanish. Instruments, cameras, and monitoring equipment would record an absence, a sudden interruption in continuity, as if the person had been erased from the present. In some accounts, the individual reappeared moments later, disoriented, often unable to recall what had happened, yet carrying subtle physiological or emotional traces of their temporal displacement. One retired analyst who worked in one of the CIA's lesser-known underground facilities described an incident that remained vivid in his memory. A junior physicist tasked with adjusting a micro-wormhole containment chamber entered the room just after a successful test of temporal displacement on an inanimate object. Monitors recorded his presence. Then a sudden surge of electromagnetic energy surged through the lab, accompanied by a faint, almost imperceptible vibration in the air. The next moment, he was gone. Not a trace remained on the monitors, not a shadow in the room. Colleagues waited in tense silence, fearing the worst. Then, precisely 22 minutes later, he reappeared, standing in exactly the same spot, though visibly shaken. He described no conscious experience during those minutes, yet later, subtle changes were observed. A slight alteration in his handwriting, a minor shift in how he recalled past events, and most intriguingly, a sudden intuition about problems in unrelated experiments, as though he had briefly perceived them before they happened. Similar stories are scattered throughout the lore surrounding these experiments. Technicians speak of objects disappearing from containment chambers and reappearing miles away, or instruments that recorded environmental anomalies when nothing physically passed through them. Some accounts describe entire rooms appearing slightly out of alignment, as though space itself had been subtly warped by events that occurred outside conventional time. These disappearances, while never officially documented, created a pervasive sense of unease among personnel. Some scientists reportedly refused to enter certain chambers without backup, not merely out of fear for personal safety, but due to the inexplicable nature of what had occurred before. Eyewitnesses recall that these events were not random. Often, they coincided with experiments designed to manipulate micro-wormholes, observe temporal echoes, or synchronize human observation with quantum phenomena. This pattern suggested that these were not accidents, but byproducts of highly experimental and inherently unstable processes. Retired operatives described safety protocols that were both extensive and peculiar, including the use of multiple synchronized cameras, remote-controlled instrumentation, and continuous health monitoring, all designed to protect personnel in the event that temporal displacement extended beyond the laboratory boundaries. Even with these precautions, some incidents remained incomprehensible, defying the understanding of those involved. The psychological impact of these disappearances cannot be overstated. Employees often spoke of lingering tension, a quiet, unspoken fear that stepping into the wrong place at the wrong time could mean vanishing, even briefly, into an unknown dimension of time. Some report that colleagues who had experienced these events displayed subtle behavioral changes, heightened intuition, glimpses of possible future occurrences, or unexplainable recollections of events that had not yet transpired. In some cases, they reported vivid dreams that correlated precisely with experimental outcomes, dreams that seemed to stitch together fragments of alternate temporal paths. Intriguingly, the project's documents, where they exist, suggest that these disappearances were studied with almost clinical precision. Memos and internal reports, later leaked or declassified, hinted experiments where the duration of temporal displacement was meticulously logged, physiological responses measured, and environmental data analysed in extreme detail. Scientists reportedly debated whether human consciousness itself could survive temporal separation without damage, and if so, whether these brief disappearances could serve as a mechanism for observing or influencing future events. Discussions of ethical responsibility emerge in these documents as well, emphasizing the human cost of experimentation and the delicate balance between discovery and risk. There are also whispers of incidents that were never fully resolved. Some personnel who disappeared never returned, leaving only speculation and fragmented reports. In other cases, small discrepancies were noted. Objects returned with slight alterations, chemical compositions subtly different, or inscriptions added that had no apparent origin. These anomalies fed the belief among insiders that the experiments were not merely observational, but in some way interactive, capable of subtly shaping or intersecting with the temporal flow. These stories of disappearance extend beyond individual personnel. Some accounts suggest that entire experiments, laboratory records, and even vehicles may have temporarily vanished. Security reports speak vaguely of unexpected absences of property and equipment, yet the details are carefully obscured. In combination with eyewitness narratives, this suggests that the experiments produced phenomena that cannot be fully explained by ordinary physics or simple error. The concept of temporary temporal displacement emerges as a chillingly real possibility, a reminder that the boundaries of time may not be as fixed as we assume. In reflecting upon these mysterious disappearances, we begin to grasp the extraordinary nature of the CIA's temporal project. It was not merely a collection of theories or speculative experiments, it was an active engagement with forces that, if real, transcend conventional understanding. Each vanished object, each disoriented observer, each subtle anomaly in the laboratory environment contributes to a tapestry of mystery that is at once unsettling and profoundly fascinating. The disappearances speak not only to the ambition of the project, but to the potential reality of controlled interaction with time, hinting at possibilities that are still largely hidden from public knowledge. Chapter 6: Time Travel Vehicles, Fact or Fiction. As we move deeper into the story of the CIA's time travel explorations, we enter a domain where the line between imagination and reality becomes almost imperceptible, the notion of vehicles designed to traverse time itself. For most, the idea conjures images of science fiction: sleek machines, glowing portals, and instantaneous movement through the fabric of history. Yet, within the whispered accounts of former insiders, there exists a more nuanced and compelling narrative, one that suggests the CIA may have pursued experimental vehicles capable of limited temporal displacement, blending advanced physics, aerospace engineering, and clandestine ingenuity. It is widely known that the CIA invested heavily in cutting-edge aerospace technology throughout the Cold War, from high-speed reconnaissance aircraft like the SR-71 Blackbird to stealth aircraft designed to evade radar. The agency demonstrated an unparalleled capacity to push the boundaries of what was technologically possible. These projects required not only visionary engineering, but also a willingness to explore phenomena at the edge of understanding. High-velocity aerodynamics, atmospheric physics, and the management of energy fields far beyond conventional parameters. Some insiders suggest that this expertise may have served as a foundation for experiments in temporal travel, providing both the technological capability and the operational framework needed to test vehicles in controlled environments. Rumors persist of secret blueprints, carefully hidden within the labyrinthine archives of the agency, describing what is often referred to as a temporal vehicle. These designs, according to accounts from retired personnel, depict a craft that combines principles of quantum entanglement, electromagnetic field manipulation, and relativistic physics. The goal, it is suggested, was not to allow instantaneous journeys through centuries, but to move small objects, or eventually human passengers, across short intervals of time, minutes, hours, perhaps a few days. The complexity of such an endeavour is staggering. The vehicle would need to create a stable micro-wormhole, maintain it without catastrophic collapse, and shield both the operator and surrounding space from the unpredictable distortions of time itself. Eyewitness accounts, often shared with extreme caution, add an additional layer of intrigue. One retired engineer described being summoned to a remote test site in the Nevada desert during the early 1970s. Under the cover of darkness, he was said to have observed a machine unlike any known aircraft. Its surface was smooth and reflective, seemingly organic in shape, and it emitted a faint hum, almost musical, that resonated through the desert air. Security personnel kept strict watch, yet despite these precautions, the engineer claimed to witness the vehicle suddenly vanish before his eyes, leaving only a ripple in the air like a heat wave frozen in time. Moments later, it reappeared a few meters away, unchanged in form but shifted slightly in orientation. The observation left a profound impression on him, one that he reportedly struggled to reconcile with conventional physics for decades afterward. Reports of similar sightings emerged from other corners of the intelligence community. Former analysts recall debriefing security officers who described equipment or personnel that seemed to flicker in and out of existence during certain tests, while instrumentation indicated no conventional explanation. Some theorists suggest that these experiences were the result of localized temporal distortions generated by experimental vehicles, a phenomenon that is extraordinarily difficult to document yet profoundly compelling for those who witnessed it firsthand. In these accounts, the distinction between mechanical engineering and temporal experimentation becomes blurred, hinting at a sophisticated understanding of how to manipulate time in controlled, if limited, ways. The potential mechanisms behind such vehicles are themselves fascinating. Insider narratives suggest that these craft may have relied on a combination of technologies, quantum stabilization, achieved through precise alignment of entangled particles, could have anchored a micro-wormhole to the craft. Electromagnetic fields, carefully calibrated and modulated, might have acted as a shield against temporal turbulence, preventing catastrophic collapse or distortion of local space-time. And high-precision navigation systems, capable of accounting for even infinitesimal variations in gravitational fields and quantum flux, may have guided the vehicle along precise temporal paths. In essence, these designs describe a craft that is less a conventional vehicle and more a mobile laboratory for bending the rules of reality. Some retired CIA scientists have hinted, albeit vaguely, that the testing of these vehicles was conducted in phases. Initial experiments reportedly involved inanimate objects, often simple devices or containers, which were subjected to short, controlled temporal displacements. Once small successes were recorded, the experiments progressed to automated craft, capable of sustaining field stabilization long enough to demonstrate measurable temporal movement. Eyewitness reports suggest that the final phase, potentially involving human operators, remained highly classified, with only a handful of insiders aware of the exact procedures. In these accounts, the possibility of temporal travel for humans was approached with extreme caution, given the unpredictable psychological and physiological effects observed even in preliminary tests. The stories also hint at extraordinary consequences and anomalies. Some personnel reported that during testing, instruments recorded echoes of events that had not yet occurred, as if the vehicle's brief temporal excursions were sending ripples back through the local environment. Others described subtle changes in the physical world, objects in the vicinity appearing slightly altered, clock readings temporarily desynchronized, and the air itself carrying an almost imperceptible vibration, like the resonance of a string plucked in another room. These details, repeated across multiple independent accounts, suggest that the experiments were not purely theoretical. They produced phenomena that, at least subjectively, seem to demonstrate the effects of temporal manipulation. And yet, for all the stories and whispers, definitive evidence remains elusive. No publicly available photographs, technical manuals, or verified test results have surfaced to confirm the existence of a functional time travel vehicle. Some insiders argue that this is deliberate, given the profound implications of even limited temporal displacement. Every effort was made to suppress physical evidence, leaving only first-hand testimony and fragmentary records. Others suggest that the technology may have reached operational capability only briefly before being suspended or dismantled, either because the risks outweighed the benefits, or because the project itself was subsumed into other classified initiatives. Regardless of the uncertainties, the idea of a temporal vehicle remains one of the most captivating elements of the CIA's time travel project. It represents a vision of possibility that blends advanced science, human ingenuity, and the daring ambition to explore the ultimate frontier, time itself. The accounts of vanished objects, glimpses of machines flickering in and out of existence, and the subtle anomalies observed during testing all contribute to a narrative that is both extraordinary and, in the eyes of many who worked nearby, entirely believable. In reflecting on these vehicles, we gain a deeper understanding of the scope of the CIA's Temporal project. It was not merely a series of isolated experiments. It was an integrated effort that combined physics, engineering, psychic research, and operational security, all aimed at exploring the nature of time in a controlled environment. The vehicles, whether fully operational or only partially successful, embody the audacity of this vision, the pursuit of a technology that could, even briefly, move through moments yet to come, offering a glimpse into a future that remains tantalizingly just out of reach. Chapter 7: Government Cover-ups and Disinformation. As we delve further into the labyrinthine history of the CIA's temporal explorations, one theme becomes inescapably clear: secrecy. The very notion of time travel, if pursued with any seriousness, would require layers upon layers of protection, not only for operational security but to shield the public from the sheer magnitude of what was being explored. And it is here, in these shadowed layers of concealment, that the intersection of government cover-ups, deliberate disinformation, and the enigmatic world of temporal experimentation emerges, revealing a story as compelling as the experiments themselves. Throughout the 20th century, the CIA and other intelligence agencies became masters of controlled narrative. Declassified documents reveal programs designed to mislead adversaries, conceal operational methods, and protect sensitive research from public exposure. Officially, many of these efforts were strategic, disguising reconnaissance operations, creating false technological threats, or diverting attention from classified aerospace projects. Yet, when these methods are considered alongside the whispered stories of time travel experiments, a pattern emerges: the deliberate suppression or obfuscation of extraordinary capabilities. Some insiders suggest that the CIA went beyond ordinary secrecy, actively shaping the stories that would reach the public. For example, media coverage of psychic research and remote viewing was often presented as eccentric or experimental, emphasizing the fringe elements while downplaying successful demonstrations of phenomena that may have intersected with temporal observation. This is not unlike a magician directing the audience's attention to one hand, while the other performs feats invisible to the casual observer. In this analogy, the CIA may have been managing both perception and reality, ensuring that the true scale of temporal experimentation remained hidden behind layers of disinformation and plausible deniability. Accounts from retired analysts and archivists suggest that the same approach extended to physical experiments and technical documentation. Highly classified files were reportedly partitioned into multiple security levels, with sections so sensitive they were only accessible to a handful of individuals. Some of these documents, it is said, were deliberately destroyed or lost in internal purges to prevent future exposure. Others were encoded in layers of bureaucratic complexity, often referred to by insiders as temporal redactions, in which even accurate information was buried beneath misleading annotations or false technical descriptions. The intent, according to these whispers, was to make it nearly impossible for anyone outside the inner circle to discern the truth without extraordinary persistence and clearance. Beyond document suppression, the CIA's influence over public perception appears to have extended into the realm of rumor and myth. Some whistleblowers have hinted that sensational stories about the Montauk project, alien technology, and time travel experiments were, in part, seeded intentionally. These stories, while containing grains of truth, were designed to create a fog of uncertainty, making it difficult for external observers to separate factual events from narrative construction. In this way, even casual researchers attempting to investigate temporal experimentation would encounter a mixture of credible reports, disinformation, and speculative folklore, leaving them unsure of what could be trusted eyewitness accounts add further layers of intrigue. Retired CIA personnel recount nights spent in secure facilities, when unexpected security measures were deployed without explanation. Employees would arrive for work only to find entire sections of a lab cordoned off, electronic equipment sealed or removed, and colleagues instructed to provide minimal documentation or testimony. In some accounts, these sudden interventions coincided with particularly sensitive temporal experiments, tests in which micro-wormholes were stabilized, objects temporarily displaced, or psychic observers tasked with glimpsing future events. In these moments, the careful orchestration of secrecy appears not merely defensive but strategic, aimed at containing information before it could escape into public awareness. Some former insiders also hint at more deliberate methods of misdirection. In certain cases, they claim that anomalies or unexplained occurrences were attributed to mundane causes, equipment malfunctions, human error, or environmental interference, even when no such cause could account for the observed phenomena. Observers were trained to record events in ways that aligned with conventional science, documenting outcomes that could be explained while masking subtler, potentially revolutionary effects. Over time, these actions created a layered history, in which the truth was embedded within a matrix of half-truths, making it nearly impossible for the uninitiated to reconstruct events accurately. The implications of this systematic concealment extend beyond mere operational secrecy. If the CIA achieved even limited success in manipulating time, the potential consequences for society, politics, and science would be profound. The careful orchestration of cover-ups, the destruction or alteration of sensitive records, and the creation of a narrative fog suggest a deliberate effort to ensure that such capabilities remained under tight control. Former analysts speculate that this approach was guided not only by concerns over national security, but by ethical considerations, the realization that even minor disruptions to the timeline could have unintended, possibly catastrophic effects. In this sense, the disinformation and cover-up measures were as much a protective mechanism for reality itself as they were for the agency's operational security. Some of the most compelling whispers involve entirely vanished projects. Archivists who have worked with declassified CIA records speak of folders marked Temporal Experiments, Eyes Only, documents that detail experiments involving both objects and personnel temporarily displaced in time. Many of these folders reportedly disappeared over the decades, either removed from archives, destroyed, or hidden within deeper layers of classification. In some accounts, surviving fragments hint at experiments that achieved more than mere observation, subtle manipulations of causality, small but measurable changes in events that were later verified. These fragments are tantalizing, suggesting that the story of temporal experimentation is far richer and far more controlled than public records alone can reveal. Even more intriguing are accounts of controlled leaks. Some retired personnel describe incidents in which carefully constructed leaks were allowed to reach journalists or hobbyist investigators. These leaks often contain distorted or exaggerated elements designed to provoke curiosity while shielding critical details. The effect was twofold. First, it generated public fascination with phenomena that might otherwise have been dismissed, and second, it provided a plausible cover for the extraordinary experiments taking place behind closed doors. In this way, the CIA's approach to cover-up and disinformation was not simply defensive, it was an active strategy designed to control both information and perception, to weave truth and fiction together in a tapestry that kept the extraordinary hidden in plain sight. The human element of these cover-ups is also striking. Analysts recall instances where employees were trained to compartmentalize knowledge, never speaking about certain experiments outside tightly controlled channels. Whistleblowers report experiencing intense moral and psychological pressure, struggling with the knowledge of what they had witnessed, while understanding the necessity of secrecy. In some accounts, these pressures contributed to voluntary or forced exits from the program, leaving only a core of highly loyal, highly trained personnel capable of sustaining the project's delicate balance between experimentation and concealment. Through all of this, we can begin to appreciate the scope and sophistication of the CIA's approach. The combination of document suppression, deliberate disinformation, controlled leaks, and psychological management created an environment in which temporal experimentation could proceed with extraordinary secrecy, yet remain subtly anchored in the perceptions of those involved. For those who later attempt to piece together the story, the challenge is immense. To sift through half-truths, misdirections, and fragmentary evidence, while recognizing the extraordinary possibilities hinted at by the most credible eyewitness accounts. In reflecting on these cover-ups, one begins to understand the extraordinary lengths to which a government might go to contain knowledge of temporal experimentation. The concealment of information, the careful orchestration of narrative, and the intentional blending of truth and rumor all speak to the profound implications of what was being pursued. Whether one views these measures as protective, strategic, or ethically necessary, they underscore a central theme of the CIA time travel project, that some knowledge is so potent, so destabilizing that it cannot exist freely in the ordinary world. Chapter 8: Time Travel and the JFK Assassination. As we move into a particularly shadowed and compelling corner of history, we find ourselves in the tense streets of Dallas, November 22nd, 1963, a day that forever altered the course of the United States and continues to fascinate historians, researchers, and curious minds alike. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy is a moment steeped in mystery, with layers of secrecy, conflicting reports, and unanswered questions. It is also according to whispers and claims from some former insiders, a day that intersected with the clandestine efforts of the CIA to explore temporal phenomena, creating a narrative where the boundaries between history, observation, and controlled experimentation blur in fascinating and unsettling ways. To begin understanding these claims, it is essential to recognize the historical context of the period. The early 1960s were a time of immense tension, both globally and within the United States. The Cold War loomed large, espionage and intelligence operations expanded rapidly, and technological experimentation pushed the limits of science and engineering. In this environment, the CIA was known to explore unconventional research avenues, from psychic experimentation and remote viewing to advanced aerospace technologies, and, according to the whispers of retired personnel, preliminary temporal research. These projects were not widely known, even within intelligence circles, but they formed the backdrop against which the events in Dallas may have intersected with the possibilities of temporal observation. Some insider accounts suggest that, as part of ongoing temporal research, highly controlled experiments were designed to observe past and future events through both mechanical and psychic means. The so-called Chronoscope devices, discussed in fragmentary internal memos and later leaked documents, were purportedly instruments that could, under extremely precise conditions, provide glimpses of specific moments in time, capturing visual and auditory information from events not yet or no longer directly accessible. While these devices, if they existed, were not intended to alter history, the potential to observe with unprecedented clarity seems to have been within the scope of the experimental design. According to these accounts, certain highly trained remote viewers who had already participated in Stargate project exercises were reportedly tasked with exercises that coincided with the JFK assassination. They were instructed to focus on the movements of key individuals, the streets of Dallas and the motorcade route, recording impressions of events moments before they occurred. In some instances, these remote viewers described scenes with astonishing detail. The position of the presidential limousine, the locations of bystanders, and the subtle movements of officials along the motorcade path. Some accounts even suggest that a few observers reported temporal echoes of the tragic events, sensing the exact timing of shots or the immediate reactions of people at Dealey Plaza before anyone on the ground could verify them. These experiences, though anecdotal, suggest a compelling intersection between psychic observation and temporal experimentation. Mechanical experiments are said to have been conducted simultaneously, though, like many of the CIA's most sensitive operations, the details are fragmentary. Reports describe secure facilities where small-scale chronoscopic devices were aligned with real-time events in Dallas, capturing data streams that were analyzed for anomalies, temporal fluctuations, or precognitive correlations. Operators reportedly monitored these devices for patterns that might indicate small but measurable distortions in the flow of time, while mathematicians and physicists attempted to correlate these observations with predictive models. Retired personnel who have spoken cautiously about these experiments note that the results were often subtle, fleeting, and difficult to interpret, yet they reinforced the agency's belief that human observation and advanced instrumentation could interact with the temporal fabric in limited ways. The intersection of these efforts with the actual assassination introduces a layer of profound intrigue. Whispers from anonymous insiders suggest that certain CIA operatives had advance notice of key moments, not through conventional intelligence gathering, but via temporal observation methods. According to these accounts, some personnel may be able to anticipate aspects of the motorcade's progress, the positioning of security, and even the immediate aftermath of the shots fired. These claims, while controversial and impossible to independently verify, align with patterns described in multiple leaked internal memos, where observations from Chronoscope experiments were catalogued alongside standard intelligence reports. The implication is that the CIA was exploring ways to gather information across temporal boundaries without directly intervening, effectively observing history as it unfolded with unprecedented clarity. Eyewitness accounts add further richness to the narrative. Some retired analysts recall debriefing officers who described moments in which instruments temporarily recorded anomalies that could not be explained by conventional physics. Timestamps that briefly appeared out of sequence, audio signals that captured faint echoes of sounds before they occurred, and visual patterns that shifted subtly in synchrony with events in Dallas. These anomalies were meticulously documented and analysed, with the most promising findings filed under layers of classification that remain inaccessible to the public. Some of these observations, it is claimed, contributed to ongoing theoretical models of temporal manipulation and reinforced the feasibility of controlled, limited-time observation. It is important to note that in these accounts, there's no suggestion of deliberate intervention in the assassination itself. Ethical and operational constraints, according to insiders, would have prohibited any attempt to alter events of such magnitude. Instead, the focus appears to have been observational, gathering data, refining techniques, and exploring the boundaries of what could be witnessed across time. Yet the implications are staggering. If even a fragment of these reports is accurate, it suggests that human consciousness, combined with highly sensitive instruments, may have been capable of perceiving moments of history in near real time, offering insights that were previously thought impossible. The narrative becomes even more compelling when we consider the long-term consequences. After the assassination, internal discussions within the agency reportedly addressed the risks of temporal observation, the potential for anomalies to influence perception, and the moral responsibility associated with accessing events outside conventional time. These discussions were highly classified, recorded in documents that later vanished or were purged from archives, leaving only tantalizing fragments in the hands of a few whistleblowers describe reading reports of psychological effects on personnel who observed these events, including vivid dreams, altered memory perception, and an unsettling sense of having been there in multiple temporal layers. Simultaneously, the human element of these experiments is as striking as the technical achievements, underscoring the profound impact of temporal observation on those who participated. Adding to the intrigue are anecdotes suggesting that the CIA's temporal research may have intersected with other secret programs during the same period. Some insiders hint that aerospace tests, early experiments with electromagnetic fields, and psychic observation exercises were coordinated in ways that allowed for cross-verification of results, creating a multi-layered approach to temporal intelligence gathering. These efforts, if accurate, reveal an astonishing ambition: to combine technology, human consciousness, and advanced physics into a unified system capable of perceiving history with unprecedented clarity. In this context, the JFK assassination becomes more than a historical event. It becomes a lens through which we can glimpse the extraordinary ambitions of a hidden scientific frontier. Through all of this, a sense of calm reflection emerges. While the technical details are astonishing, and the ethical and philosophical implications profound, the narrative is also deeply human. We see scientists, analysts, and operatives confronting phenomena that challenge the very foundations of reality, exploring questions of time, perception, and morality with courage, discipline, and curiosity. The story of temporal observation and the JFK assassination, whether entirely accurate or partially speculative, invites us to consider the remarkable possibilities that lie at the intersection of science and consciousness, history and observation, curiosity and responsibility. Chapter 9: Intersections with Extraterrestrial Research. As we step further into the labyrinthine corridors of the CIA's most secretive projects, we find ourselves exploring an area where the boundaries of science, speculation, and the unknown blur in fascinating ways. Beyond the walls of clandestine laboratories and the echoes of temporal experiments lies a domain that has captivated the public imagination for decades. Extraterrestrial research, UFO sightings, alleged alien recoveries, and unexplained technological phenomena have long intrigued not only enthusiasts and investigators, but also elements within government and intelligence agencies. Within this context, some insiders suggest that temporal research and extraterrestrial investigations may have been more intertwined than the public has ever been told. To understand this connection, we first consider the historical backdrop. The 1940s and 1950s marked a period of extraordinary scientific curiosity and paranoia. The end of World War II, the dawn of the nuclear age and the onset of the Cold War created a climate in which the United States government was desperate to understand, replicate, or surpass any technology that might threaten national security. The infamous Roswell incident of 1947, widely dismissed in popular discourse as a mere weather balloon, has been repeatedly described in insider accounts as a catalyst for accelerated research into materials, propulsion systems, and energy manipulation that appeared to defy conventional physics. Whistleblowers suggest that some of these recovered devices exhibited properties that resembled the theoretical principles underlying temporal manipulation, including unusual energy fields, anomalous electromagnetic readings, and unexplained material resilience. Eyewitnesses and former intelligence officers recount nights spent examining fragments of recovered crafts, often in deep underground facilities where standard physics could not fully account for their behavior. Some fragments reportedly contained alloys with structures that could not be reproduced using known metallurgical methods, and energy sources that defied conventional understanding. These devices, the insiders whisper, were subjected to rigorous testing, both to reverse engineer propulsion and to explore whether their apparent temporal properties could be harnessed in human-made experiments. According to these accounts, scientists began to hypothesize that alien technology might operate in a domain where the conventional flow of time was not fixed, where temporal manipulation was intrinsic to propulsion or energy management, and where human ingenuity could only begin to understand the principles at work. The connection to CIA temporal experiments emerges here, in the blending of extraterrestrial observation with human experimentation. Some reports suggest that recovered alien devices, or at least their operational principles, were studied alongside experiments involving micro-wormholes, chronoscopic observation, and temporal vehicles. The goal was twofold. First, to understand whether temporal manipulation could be achieved with human-engineered technology, and second, to explore whether extraterrestrial methods offered insights that could accelerate or stabilize such experiments. Insiders have described laboratories in which both alien artifacts and human-made prototypes were studied simultaneously, their interactions carefully monitored and hypotheses meticulously tested. The human element in these investigations is as intriguing as the technology itself. Analysts recall accounts of engineers and physicists who became obsessed with understanding the properties of alien devices, spending long nights measuring energy emissions, vibrations, and electromagnetic anomalies. Some employees reported experiencing subtle disorientation while working near these artifacts, sensations of time seeming to stretch or compress, or of hearing faint auditory echoes of events that had not yet occurred. These experiences, while anecdotal, are consistent with reports from temporal experiments using purely human-made systems, suggesting a convergence of phenomena between extraterrestrial technology and human temporal research. Some retired insiders have even hinted at direct experimentation, controlled attempts to reproduce the temporal effects observed in alien artifacts within laboratory settings. Reports suggest that these experiments were conducted under extreme security protocols, often in underground facilities designed to contain energy surges, temporal distortions, or any unforeseen interactions. In some cases, personnel recall small objects briefly vanishing from one containment chamber and reappearing in another, or monitoring equipment detecting transient energy fluctuations, resembling those recorded near alien fragments. While these observations were limited and difficult to replicate consistently, they reinforced the belief that some extraterrestrial devices may have operated in a domain where time was not a constant, but a variable that could be observed, stretched, or even slightly manipulated. The stakes of these investigations were not merely academic. Several insiders suggest that the CIA considered the potential strategic applications of temporal research derived from extraterrestrial principles. The possibility of observing enemy movements before they occurred, testing the future outcomes of covert operations, or even developing prototypes capable of limited temporal displacement was reportedly discussed at the highest levels of certain secret programs. The ethical considerations, as one retired officer described, were profound. Deliberately experimenting with temporal phenomena potentially derived from alien technology introduced not only unknown technical risks, but profound philosophical questions. Should humans ever attempt to manipulate or predict time? What would be the consequences of applying extraterrestrial principles to events with potentially catastrophic outcomes? These were not abstract questions for those involved. They shaped the protocols, security measures, and operational decisions of the programs. Eyewitness accounts further describe subtle anomalies observed during the integration of extraterrestrial principles into temporal experiments. Engineers recall that equipment sometimes behaved unpredictably, responding to human intention or environmental changes in ways that defied ordinary physics. In one notable report, a test chamber aligned with a recovered fragment exhibited faint visual distortions when a prototype micro-wormhole generator was activated nearby. Personnel described observing shifts in light, brief ripples across the chamber floor, and faint auditory phenomena that seemed synchronized with the equipment, but occurred before activation. Analysts speculate that these anomalies may represent a cross-effect between human temporal experimentation and residual properties of extraterrestrial technology, hinting at a convergence of phenomena that could only be glimpsed under extraordinarily controlled conditions. Beyond laboratory experiments, some insiders have claimed that extraterrestrial research influenced broader temporal initiatives. Strategic discussions, internal memos, and controlled leaks suggest that lessons drawn from alien devices informed the design of temporal vehicles, chronoscopic instruments, and even psychic observation exercises. In essence, the CIA's exploration of time was not conducted in isolation, but was informed, subtly or profoundly, by phenomena that appeared to originate beyond the Earth. This intersection of extraterrestrial research and temporal experimentation created an unprecedented opportunity to learn from systems that may have evolved under different physical or temporal rules, and to apply those insights to human endeavours in a way that remained rigorously controlled and closely monitored. Ultimately, the stories of extraterrestrial intersections with temporal research invite both awe and reflection. They suggest that the boundaries of human understanding are more permeable than conventional science allows. that the exploration of time may have been guided not only by theoretical physics but by phenomena encountered in the wider universe, and that the CIA's secret programs represented an extraordinary convergence of human curiosity, scientific rigour, and encounters with the unknown. These narratives, while partially speculative, are consistent with credible insider accounts, documented research patterns, and the persistent mystery surrounding both temporal experiments and extraterrestrial investigation. Together, they paint a picture of an endeavour that is at once extraordinary, profoundly human, and tantalisingly beyond our full comprehension. Chapter 10: The Montauk Project Connection. As we venture further into the shadows of secret experimentation, we arrive at one of the most enigmatic and controversial intersections of CIA temporal research and experimental science. The Montauk Project, nestled on the remote tip of Long Island, New York, the Montauk Air Force Station became the focal point of whispers, rumours, and first-hand accounts that suggest experiments far beyond conventional physics were conducted within its reinforced concrete walls. For decades, these stories have circulated quietly, carried by those with intimate knowledge of clandestine programs, and they resonate with the same themes we've explored in earlier chapters: secrecy, audacity, and the human desire to reach beyond the limits of time itself. The Montauk Project is often linked in popular culture with mind control, psychic research, and UFO phenomena, but according to retired personnel and whistleblowers, these narratives barely scratch the surface. Within the heavily shielded underground chambers of the base, some insiders describe sophisticated experiments that sought to blend temporal research, quantum mechanics, and human consciousness. The aim, it is said, was both to test the limits of time manipulation and to understand whether the human mind could act as a bridge or catalyst for temporal phenomena. Such an endeavour was unlike anything the military or intelligence community had previously attempted, and its secrecy was absolute. Security protocols were described as almost ritualistic. Personnel were carefully vetted, access strictly controlled, and layers of compartmentalization ensured that even those participating in experiments often knew only a fragment of the overall project. Reports suggest that the early phases of the Montauk Project involved intensive studies in electromagnetic fields, energy resonance, and particle acceleration. Scientists and engineers worked with massive equipment, including radar arrays, oscillators, and electromagnetic emitters, configured in ways that defied standard experimentation protocols. The goal, according to insiders, was to create localized distortions in space-time, micro-temporal anomalies that could be measured, recorded, and eventually expanded in scope. Eyewitness accounts describe chambers filled with hums of energy, lights that pulsed with a rhythm not tied to conventional electricity, and subtle vibrations that seemed to resonate not with the material world, but with some imperceptible temporal plane personnel working near these devices reportedly experienced disorientation, fleeting lapses of memory, or a sense of seeing events out of chronological order, suggesting that the experiments may have indeed interacted with the temporal fabric in subtle but measurable ways. It is in this context that the Montauk Project becomes intertwined with the broader CIA temporal research agenda. Whistleblowers have claimed that knowledge gained at Montauk informed experiments elsewhere, including micro-wormhole stabilization, chronoscopic observation, and even the development of prototypes for time displacement vehicles. The base, with its vast underground infrastructure and high-security environment, allowed for larger-scale and higher-risk experiments than would have been possible at other sites. Some accounts describe full-scale simulations in which human subjects, sometimes volunteers and sometimes intelligence personnel, were exposed to controlled temporal distortions. These sessions reportedly produced phenomena such as temporary vanishing, minor physical displacement, and, in the minds of some witnesses, fleeting glimpses of potential futures. Perhaps the most astonishing claims involve what insiders refer to as time loops. During these experiments, electromagnetic fields were intensified around test chambers, and operators reported observing sequences of events repeating themselves within the chamber. Some staff described seeing objects move in reverse, recordings of prior sessions playing out in real time, or individuals appearing to exist in multiple temporal positions simultaneously. While these descriptions border on the fantastical, multiple independent testimonies align in detail, suggesting that the experiences, if not fully understood, were consistent across multiple witnesses and experimental runs. Scientists at the base reportedly kept meticulous logs of anomalies, noting fluctuations in energy, distortions in local space, and subtle changes in physical constants. Over time, they began to develop theories about how these phenomena could be harnessed to extend the duration, stability, or range of temporal experiments. Eyewitness accounts also describe extraordinary effects on human participants. Operators and volunteers often reported intense psychological experiences, including vivid dreams, the sensation of moving through past or future events, and temporary cognitive disorientation. Some individuals claimed to experience memories or perceptions of events that had not yet occurred, a phenomenon that, if true, aligns with reports from other CIA temporal research sites where psychic observation was integrated with quantum experiments. While the long-term consequences for participants remain largely unknown, some whistleblowers hint at lasting effects. Enhanced perception of temporal sequences, difficulty distinguishing chronological order, and even episodes of spontaneous chronological awareness during mundane activities. These accounts suggest that the human mind may have been an active participant in temporal experimentation, serving as both observer and catalyst. Another striking aspect of the Montauk project involves allegations of physical and technological experimentation that extended beyond human perception. Some insiders describe large-scale devices designed to project temporal fields across the underground base, capable of influencing electromagnetic resonance and energy flux in ways that could theoretically stabilize localized distortions in space-time objects. Placed within these fields, reportedly exhibited anomalous behavior. Clocks desynchronized. Small items appeared in different locations than expected, and electronic devices intermittently malfunctioned in ways that could not be explained by conventional science engineers, and physicists meticulously documented these anomalies, often cross-referencing them with psychic observation logs to identify correlations between mental intention and temporal effects. In this way, the Montauk project appears to have been both a laboratory for temporal physics and a stage for understanding human consciousness as an integral component of time manipulation. The narrative becomes even more compelling when we consider the intersection of Montauk experiments with rumors of extraterrestrial technology. Some whistleblowers have suggested that recovered alien artifacts were integrated into certain experiments at Montauk, providing a source of unexplained energy, anomalous resonance, or even temporal feedback. While these claims are extraordinary, they echo accounts from other CIA research sites, where extraterrestrial investigation intersected with temporal experimentation, suggesting a coordinated effort to explore all avenues that might unlock controlled time manipulation. Observers described subtle interactions between alien-derived materials and human-engineered devices, producing effects that range from brief temporal anomalies to inexplicable energy surges. These experiences, while largely undocumented in public records, have been repeated in independent insider accounts, lending a degree of consistency to the stories. It is also important to consider the ethical and operational dilemmas documented in Montauk-related accounts. Whistleblowers describe debates among scientists and intelligence officers regarding the morality of subjecting human participants to temporal distortion experiments, the potential consequences of prolonged exposure to localized time anomalies, and the possibility of creating paradoxes or unforeseen causality disruptions. These concerns reportedly led to the strict compartmentalization of knowledge, intense security protocols, and eventual scaling back of human experiments, even as the research continued in more controlled simulations and automated systems. In essence, the Montauk project represents a convergence of audacious scientific ambition, profound ethical questions, and the intricate human experience of engaging with phenomena far beyond ordinary understanding. In reflecting on the Montauk project connection, we see a vivid illustration of the CIA's broader temporal research efforts. Here, the pursuit of knowledge intersected with human consciousness, advanced physics, and possibly extraterrestrial principles, creating an environment where experimentation pushed against the limits of perception, reality, and ethical norms. The stories of time loops, psychic observation, and anomalous behavior of objects and participants provide a compelling narrative that is both extraordinary and, according to insiders, entirely credible within the operational context of the project. For those who study these accounts closely, Montauk is not merely legend. It is a lens through which we glimpse the ambitions, risks, and awe-inspiring possibilities inherent in the pursuit of controlled temporal experimentation. Chapter 11. Time Travel in Modern Espionage. As we move from the shadowed corridors of secret experiments in the past to the present day, we encounter a realm where the boundaries between technology, human cognition, and intelligence gathering converge in ways that are subtle, yet profoundly fascinating. The CIA and allied intelligence agencies, always seeking a strategic edge, have long been described as pioneers in predictive modeling, simulations, and advanced surveillance. Yet whispers from retired personnel and insiders hint at an even more extraordinary possibility: that the knowledge and techniques developed in historical temporal experiments may have quietly informed, enhanced, and transformed modern espionage practices in ways that remain hidden from public view. To understand this, we must first consider the unique challenges faced by intelligence agencies in the modern era. While conventional espionage relies on human agents, satellites, signals, intelligence, and cyber operations, these methods have inherent limitations. Humans can only be in one place at a time, surveillance equipment only captures a slice of reality, and predictive models, while sophisticated, rely on assumptions that can never be fully verified. Within this context, the potential to access, observe, or anticipate events beyond the ordinary flow of time becomes extraordinarily valuable. If the temporal research conducted in earlier decades, including experiments at Montauk and other clandestine sites, provided even glimpses of feasible observation or prediction across time, the implications for modern intelligence are profound. Some retired operatives describe subtle, controlled applications of temporal principles within espionage operations. These are not full-scale time travel missions, as often portrayed in legend, but rather highly constrained observations, micro-level experiments in predicting outcomes of high-stakes operations, enhanced situational awareness, and real-time insights into adversaries' actions. Personnel who participated in these programs report the integration of advanced modeling software, chronoscopic devices, and psychic observation methods, allowing intelligence officers to anticipate movements, decisions, and threats with remarkable accuracy. In effect, These programs represent a fusion of conventional espionage tools with lessons derived from decades of temporal research, resulting in an intelligence apparatus that can perceive patterns across both space and time in ways invisible to the casual observer. Eyewitness accounts add a fascinating human dimension to these programs. Retired CIA analysts and field operatives have described training exercises in which simulated operations were conducted alongside controlled temporal observation experiments. Participants would monitor unfolding scenarios, while remote viewers or chronoscopic systems attempted to provide information about outcomes before conventional data could confirm them. In some cases, predictions proved astonishingly precise. The placement of targets, the timing of decisions, and even subtle environmental factors were anticipated in a manner that seemed almost impossible. Observers often describe these results as seeing the future through a keyhole, a phrase that captures the narrow, highly controlled nature of the temporal perception being tested. Other accounts suggest that technology has played a crucial role in translating these early experiments into operational capacity. Advanced computing, quantum simulations, and predictive algorithms reportedly allow analysts to extrapolate information derived from small-scale temporal experiments into actionable intelligence. By combining high-speed data analysis with subtle cues from both human cognition and experimental temporal systems, agencies may be able to reconstruct sequences of events with extraordinary precision. Some insiders hint at a system where human intuition and technological observation intersect, a hybrid methodology in which the mind's ability to perceive potential outcomes is augmented and verified through rigorous computational analysis. In effect, this creates a feedback loop where prediction, observation, and adjustment occur almost simultaneously, providing intelligence officers with a near precognitive operational edge. The human element in modern temporal espionage is as compelling as the technology. Former personnel report rigorous psychological screening and training designed to enhance focus, perception, and temporal awareness. Participants were often instructed to meditate, observe subtle environmental cues, and maintain precise records of impressions, all while coordinating with instruments designed to detect minute fluctuations in energy, time signatures, or probability fields. Over time, some operators developed what they described as temporal intuition, a heightened sensitivity to events before they occurred, or subtle shifts in circumstances that would later prove decisive. While these abilities are difficult to quantify scientifically, multiple accounts suggest that they were cultivated deliberately and applied in operational contexts where milliseconds, decisions, and the smallest anomalies could have extraordinary consequences. Intriguingly, some retired operatives hint at the use of temporal observation in strategic decision-making beyond conventional espionage. Reports suggest that intelligence agencies may have used these methods to anticipate political developments, global economic shifts, and security threats before they fully materialized. While most of these operations remain classified, leaks and indirect accounts hint at a sophisticated system in which temporal principles inform long-term planning, crisis response, and clandestine action. These capabilities, if real, represent a subtle but profound extension of the lessons learned from earlier temporal experiments, that the flow of time may not be entirely linear, and that careful observation and controlled manipulation could provide insights beyond ordinary perception. The ethical implications of such capabilities are profound and deeply human. Retired personnel describe intense debates within the intelligence community about the morality of using temporal observation in operational contexts. Could the ability to anticipate decisions or actions constitute an unfair advantage, or even a violation of free will? Could small interventions, even indirect ones, cascade into unforeseen consequences with global impact? Whistleblowers hint that these discussions influence the development of operational protocols, emphasizing observation and analysis rather than direct interference, and instilling a strict code of responsibility for those participating in temporal-informed espionage. In reflecting on modern espionage, we also see the continuity of secrecy, disinformation, and operational control that has characterized temporal research for decades. Just as in the Montauk project or earlier CIA experiments, modern programs are highly compartmentalized, with knowledge divided into narrow channels to prevent inadvertent disclosure or misuse. Analysts describe layered security, encryption, and the use of misdirection, not only to protect operations but also to maintain a controlled narrative about what is and is not possible. In this sense, the pursuit of temporal-informed intelligence is both an extraordinary technical endeavor and a careful orchestration of human trust, discipline, and perception. Finally, the stories of temporal espionage highlight the profound intersection of human curiosity, scientific ambition, and the unknown, whether observing outcomes milliseconds before they occur, predicting adversaries' movements, or integrating subtle temporal insights into strategic planning. These programs represent a continuation of decades of experimentation. They offer a tantalizing glimpse into a world where the boundaries of time, perception, and intelligence blur, where knowledge is both power and responsibility, and where the lessons of history, Montauk, and extraterrestrial research converge in ways that remain largely hidden from public view. Chapter 12: The Ethics of Time Manipulation. As we move into the intricate, shadowed world of temporal experimentation, one cannot help but pause and consider the profound ethical dimensions of attempting to manipulate or observe time. From the earliest whispers of CIA research into chronoscopes and temporal vehicles, to the highly secretive experiments at Montauk and the integration of extraterrestrial insights, there emerges a consistent thread. The human mind, confronted with the possibility of observing, predicting, or even altering events in time, must grapple not only with scientific questions, but with moral, philosophical, and psychological ones. The ethics of time manipulation are not abstract. They touch upon the very essence of choice, causality, and responsibility, and they have shaped the conduct of scientists, engineers, and intelligence personnel for decades. In the earlier stages of temporal research, ethical considerations were often implicit rather than explicit. Scientists and intelligence officers were operating at the frontier of knowledge, exploring phenomena that seemed almost fantastical. Yet even in these early stages, whispers from retired personnel suggest that the implications of their experiments were understood at an intuitive level. If a micro-wormhole could be stabilized, if an object could disappear and reappear moments later, or if human consciousness could perceive events outside the linear flow of time, then questions naturally arose. What responsibility accompanies the observation of events before they occur? Could a prediction, once known, alter the choices of those involved? And if an intervention were possible, would it ever be justified? These questions, unspoken in formal documentation, but palpable in the corridors of secret laboratories, form the beginning of an ethical dialogue that would follow temporal research through decades of experimentation. As experiments became more sophisticated, especially during the Montauk project and related CIA programs, ethical concerns began to take on tangible form. Whistleblowers described the intense psychological and moral strain experienced by personnel who participated in high-risk experiments, volunteers and scientists exposed to electromagnetic fields, temporal distortions, and chronoscopic observation often reported vivid perceptions of potential futures or alternative realities. In some cases, these experiences created a profound sense of moral responsibility. Observers found themselves witnessing events they could not influence, but felt the weight of understanding. A traffic accident in a remote location, a military decision that could cost lives, or a political shift that could ripple across nations. Even without direct intervention, the psychological burden of knowing, of perceiving the near future, imposed profound ethical dilemmas. Participants grappled with questions that extended beyond the laboratory. Should knowledge be acted upon? Should it be shared with superiors? And if used, what rules could govern its application without causing unintended consequences? Internal documents, often cited by whistleblowers but mostly destroyed or classified, reportedly contained debates among scientists, ethicists, and intelligence officials about the proper limits of temporal experimentation. Some argued that observation alone was permissible, as it did not alter the course of events. Others contended that even observation risked contamination. The mere act of recording or perceiving could influence human decisions, potentially creating cascading effects that could not be fully controlled. These discussions mirror philosophical debates about the observer effect in quantum mechanics, where the act of measurement itself changes the outcome, suggesting that time, perception, and action are intrinsically intertwined. In this context, ethical concerns were not theoretical. They were operational realities that shaped protocols, participation, and even the design of equipment. Whistleblower testimonies also highlight a remarkable tension between scientific ambition and human empathy. Engineers, physicists, and operatives often found themselves balancing the desire for discovery with the responsibility of restraint. In some cases, experimental sessions were deliberately limited or terminated when human participants exhibited signs of distress, cognitive overload, or moral discomfort. Retired personnel describe intense debates over the psychological impact of prolonged exposure to temporal phenomena. Some participants reported feelings of existential dislocation, the sensation of existing simultaneously in multiple temporal planes, or even altered perception of their own past and future actions. Ethical guidelines, though rarely codified formally, emerged as informal rules designed to protect both the mental health of personnel and the integrity of experiments. The question of intervention, whether temporal technology should ever be used to influence events, remains central to ethical debate. Some insiders have suggested that certain high-level discussions addressed the possibility of limited temporal intervention for national security purposes. Could a predictive model or chronoscopic observation justify a preemptive action to prevent harm? Whistleblowers imply that these discussions were rare, heavily restricted, and ultimately dismissed in favor of observational integrity, reflecting a deep concern that the potential consequences of intervention could be catastrophic. The consensus among personnel appears to have been clear. Time manipulation, if attempted, carries a responsibility that cannot be borne lightly, and human foresight, while powerful, is not omniscient. Further complicating the ethical landscape is the integration of extraterrestrial technology and insights into temporal research. Some accounts suggest that the CIA and allied agencies recovered devices with properties that may have inherently altered or displaced temporal flow. The introduction of such artifacts raised profound moral questions. Should humans attempt to replicate effects they barely understand? Could the application of alien-derived temporal principles magnify unintended consequences? And perhaps most crucially, should the potential for scientific breakthrough outweigh the risks to human participants, the public, or the integrity of history itself? Testaments suggest that these questions weighed heavily on engineers and analysts, shaping the cautious, compartmentalized, and highly secure nature of ongoing experimentation. The human experience of grappling with temporal ethics is particularly compelling. Whistleblowers describe personnel who struggled with what they called temporal responsibility, a psychological and moral burden arising from the knowledge that their work might reveal events before they occur or offer insights into the consequences of human decisions. Some participants reported recurring dreams in which past, present, and future merged. Others experienced acute anxiety when witnessing predicted outcomes that could not be changed. In the most extreme cases, individuals were reassigned or withdrawn from experiments to preserve their mental well-being and to prevent potential breaches of protocol. These experiences underscore the profound personal stakes inherent in temporal research and the delicate balance between curiosity, scientific pursuit, and moral duty. Even in modern applications where direct manipulation of time remains largely theoretical, ethical questions persist. The potential integration of temporal observation into intelligence gathering, predictive analytics, or strategic planning raises dilemmas that extend far beyond the laboratory. Could near precognitive insights be used to influence policy, economic decisions, or military operations? Who determines what is permissible, and who bears the responsibility for consequences that may unfold in unpredictable ways? Insiders suggest that these questions continue to shape protocols, emphasizing observation, restraint, and rigorous analysis rather than intervention, reflecting a deep institutional awareness of the potential dangers inherent in temporal knowledge. In reflecting on the ethics of time manipulation, one sees a striking convergence of scientific ambition, human psychology, and philosophical inquiry. From early CIA experiments to Montauk extraterrestrial research and modern espionage applications, participants and observers have been confronted with questions that test the limits of knowledge, morality, and responsibility. The pursuit of temporal understanding is not merely technical, it is profoundly human, forcing those involved to confront the nature of choice, causality, and the consequences of knowing too much. It is in this space, between discovery and restraint, curiosity and responsibility, observation and action, that the true significance of temporal research emerges. It is a reminder that even in the pursuit of the extraordinary, ethical grounding remains essential, guiding human ambition as it navigates the uncharted waters of time itself. Chapter 13: Suppressed Technology and Lost Documents. As we continue our journey through the labyrinthine corridors of temporal experimentation, we encounter one of the most intriguing and haunting aspects of the story: the deliberate suppression of technology and the disappearance of crucial documents across decades, from early CIA experiments to the Montauk project, and extending into modern intelligence operations. There exists a pattern of secrecy so intense that much of what may have been achieved, or almost achieved, remains hidden from public view. These lost or suppressed technologies and the documents that describe them hint at a world where the potential to manipulate or observe time was not only theorized but actively pursued, yet deliberately shielded from scrutiny. To understand the gravity of suppressed technology, it is helpful to consider the context of the Cold War. In the mid-20th century, the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a competition not only of armies and nuclear arsenals, but of knowledge and scientific advancement. Within this environment, unconventional science, ranging from psychic research and mind control experiments to quantum mechanics and temporal study, was viewed as a potential advantage with unprecedented strategic implications. Declassified records show that the CIA invested heavily in unconventional programs, often funding them under innocuous or misleading project titles. Yet, insiders consistently suggest that the true scope of research was far broader than publicly acknowledged. Entire laboratories were constructed underground, shielded from electromagnetic interference, and equipped with advanced instrumentation capable of monitoring subtle anomalies in time, energy, and matter. These were places where ordinary oversight was impossible, and where knowledge itself was compartmentalized to protect against leaks or accidental discovery. Among the most compelling evidence of suppressed technology are the reports of prototypes and devices that were never publicly acknowledged. Eyewitness accounts from retired engineers, physicists, and intelligence officers describe experimental machines capable of generating localized temporal distortions, devices designed to stabilize micro-wormholes, and chronoscopic instruments intended to provide limited foresight of events before they unfolded. Some of these devices were allegedly integrated with exotic materials, possibly recovered from extraterrestrial craft, whose properties defied conventional physics. Observers describe the challenge of documenting these experiments. Standard recording equipment often failed under the influence of anomalous energy fields, and data logs were erased, encrypted, or classified immediately after each session. Whistleblowers recount numerous instances of internal purges designed to prevent knowledge from spreading beyond authorized personnel folders, labeled with titles such as Temporal Experiments, Eyes Only, were reportedly removed from archives and destroyed, sometimes during abrupt security sweeps, other times in carefully orchestrated operations that left minimal trace. Scientists and engineers recall the surreal experience of seeing months or years of work vanish almost overnight, leaving only fragmented notes, cryptic memos, and oral testimonies as the remnants of what had been attempted or achieved. The loss of these documents has fueled speculation that some of the most significant breakthroughs in temporal research, and perhaps even functional prototypes, may never have been fully recorded or understood outside of classified channels among the suppressed materials. Several cases stand out as particularly mysterious. One retired archivist described a collection of binders containing detailed schematics for what appeared to be a prototype temporal displacement vehicle. The designs included diagrams of energy coils, electromagnetic stabilization fields, and timing circuits calibrated to microsecond precision. According to the archivist, the files were abruptly confiscated and transported to an undisclosed location with no explanation other than a vague statement citing national security concerns. In another account, a team of physicists working on micro-wormhole stabilization reported a sudden deletion of their experimental data and notes, leaving them unable to reconstruct results that had hinted at brief temporal displacement of small objects. These incidents, repeated across multiple facilities and decades, suggest a systematic effort to suppress knowledge that could, in the wrong hands, have profound implications. The suppression of documents is not limited to technical schematics. Eyewitnesses describe entire volumes of memos, observations, and experiential accounts that chronicled human interaction with temporal phenomena, including psychic remote viewing experiments, anomalous energy readings, and unexpected object displacement. Some of these records reportedly included personal accounts of participants who experienced brief lapses in linear time, observations of events before they occurred, and even subtle interactions with altered temporal states. The deliberate removal of such documents indicates that the suppression extended beyond mere technology. It encompassed human experiences, insights, and observations that might have provided critical context for understanding temporal research. Perhaps most compelling are accounts suggesting that the suppression was driven not only by the desire to maintain national security, but also by a recognition of the profound ethical and psychological consequences of the knowledge itself. Scientists and intelligence officers spoke of the danger inherent in allowing uncontrolled access to temporal technology. Could individuals manipulate events with catastrophic results? Could the human mind, when exposed to direct temporal observation, be destabilized or psychologically damaged? Whistleblowers hint that the removal of documents and destruction of prototypes was as much a precaution against misuse as it was a method of secrecy, reflecting a deep institutional awareness of both the power and peril inherent in controlling time. Lost documents also suggest that some breakthroughs may have been achieved, but deliberately withheld from wider scientific or operational communities. Retired personnel describe cryptic references to experiments in which objects were displaced for brief intervals, human perception was altered to detect probabilistic futures, or energy fields were manipulated to slow or accelerate localized temporal flow. In some cases, the results were partially replicated but never published outside highly classified channels, leaving a tantalizing trail of hints but no conclusive proof. This deliberate obscuring of outcomes contributes to the enduring mystery. Was the knowledge lost because it was dangerous, because it was incomplete, or because the agencies involved sought to control its dissemination for reasons we may never fully know? The suppression of technology and documents has long-term implications for both history and science. Generations of scientists unaware of the work conducted under deep cover are left to rediscover principles that may already have been explored, often through painstaking and incremental effort. Yet, for those insiders who witnessed experiments firsthand, the knowledge exists in fragments, oral accounts, partial schematics, and personal memory. Some retired scientists describe carrying this awareness with a mixture of awe, regret, and frustration, knowing that humanity may have been denied access to extraordinary discoveries due to secrecy, caution, or deliberate concealment. These lost threads of history form a shadow network of knowledge, tantalizingly close yet hidden behind layers of classified protection. Ultimately, suppressed technology and lost documents reflect both the potential and the peril of temporal research. They remind us that the quest to understand, observe, or manipulate time is not merely a scientific endeavor, but a profound human undertaking with ethical, operational, and psychological dimensions. The fragments that remain, eyewitness accounts, cryptic references, and occasional leaks, offer glimpses into experiments that may have been remarkable in their ambition, scope, and implication. They suggest that the story of temporal research is not fully told, that vast archives of knowledge may remain hidden, and that the pursuit of time manipulation, while extraordinarily difficult and secretive, has left a trail of human curiosity, caution, and wonder that continues to echo through decades of clandestine investigation. Chapter 14. Insider Whistleblowers. Speak. As we enter this chapter, we find ourselves moving from the theoretical, the documented, and the speculative into the world of those who have witnessed the edges of temporal experimentation firsthand. Insider whistleblowers occupy a unique space in this narrative. They are both participants and observers, individuals who navigated the labyrinth of secrecy, technology, and human ambition, and yet were burdened with knowledge that few outside the corridors of classified operations could ever imagine. Their testimonies provide a rare window into the human dimension of time research, offering glimpses of experiments, observations, and ethical quandaries that often remain absent from declassified records or scientific journals. Many of these whistleblowers were scientists, engineers, or intelligence personnel who, at one point, were deeply embedded within programs dedicated to exploring the frontiers of time. Some worked at underground facilities modelled after or inspired by Montauk, others at black sites equipped with electromagnetic equipment, high-precision timing devices, and energy resonance chambers. In interviews and debriefings, these individuals describe environments of extraordinary control and secrecy. Access to information was strictly compartmentalized, and knowledge was often restricted to what was necessary to perform one's immediate function. Yet, even within these silos, personnel became aware of patterns, phenomena, and experimental outcomes that defied conventional understanding of time and space. One retired scientist, whose identity remains protected due to national security agreements, described being assigned to monitor a temporal displacement test involving small inanimate objects. The experiment involved stabilizing a micro-wormhole using electromagnetic fields and high-frequency resonance circuits. According to the Whistleblower, several objects were placed inside the experimental chamber and exposed to precisely calibrated temporal fluxes. At first, nothing unusual occurred. Clocks ran normally and the equipment performed as expected. Then, inexplicably, a small metallic cube vanished from the chamber for exactly 27 minutes, only to reappear in a slightly altered position, its surface bearing minute distortions consistent with exposure to extreme energy fields. Observers recorded the event with a combination of high-speed cameras and electromagnetic sensors, and while the test was repeated, only partial replication was achieved. The scientist reflected that even this brief success hinted at the possibility of controlled, albeit limited, temporal displacement. Another insider recounted experiences with chronoscopic observation, where trained personnel, sometimes working alongside remote viewers from the Stargate program, attempted to perceive events occurring minutes, hours, or even days into the future. These sessions were conducted under tightly controlled conditions, with participants positioned in shielded rooms, subjected to precise lighting and electromagnetic calibration, and provided with meticulously structured protocols for recording impressions. Some observers reported visions that later matched real-world events with astonishing accuracy: natural disasters, strategic movements, and classified operations unfolding exactly as predicted. Others, however, described ambiguous or symbolic impressions, suggesting that the human mind's interaction with temporal information was complex, sometimes unreliable, and deeply subjective. Whistleblowers emphasized that such experiences were treated with extreme caution, both to protect the integrity of the experiments and to safeguard the mental well-being of participants. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of whistleblower testimony concerns the human consequences of prolonged exposure to temporal phenomena. Several insiders describe psychological effects that range from subtle cognitive shifts to profound disorienting experiences. Some participants reported a sense of living in multiple temporal layers simultaneously, perceiving events before they occurred or recalling them as though they had already transpired. Others experienced a blurring of past and present, often accompanied by vivid dreams, dissociative episodes, or feelings of existential dislocation. These psychological impacts were carefully documented and monitored, with protocols developed to minimize long-term harm. Yet the experiences underscore a central theme. Time experimentation is not purely technical or mechanical. It is profoundly human, entwined with perception, consciousness, and the very structure of subjective experience. Whistleblowers also shed light on anomalies that defy explanation. One former intelligence analyst described witnessing objects spontaneously reappear in unexpected locations, electronic equipment behaving unpredictably, and faint electromagnetic disturbances localized around experimental chambers. In some cases, The anomalies coincided with remote viewing sessions, suggesting a subtle interaction between human consciousness and temporal fields. The analyst recalled debates among colleagues about whether these effects were artifacts of measurement, the influence of psychic perception, or genuine temporal displacement. Such discussions were rarely formalized in reports, but insiders consistently describe them as integral to understanding the limitations and potential of experimental time research. Another recurring theme in whistleblower accounts is the persistent tension between secrecy, morality, and personal responsibility. Individuals who observed or participated in temporal experiments were often acutely aware of the consequences of disclosure. Sharing information could compromise national security, endanger colleagues, or expose the public to knowledge considered too dangerous or destabilizing. Yet the ethical dilemma remained. Should humanity know what is possible, even if the consequences of that knowledge are unknown? Some whistleblowers struggled with this question for years, carrying fragments of classified experience in silence, while others carefully release selective accounts, balancing public curiosity against operational constraints. Their courage in speaking out, often anonymously, offers the closest approximation to truth outside the official, heavily redacted archives. The technical specificity in these testimonies is striking. Retired engineers describe energy grids calibrated to precise nanosecond intervals, superconducting materials employed to minimize temporal interference, and high-frequency resonance arrays designed to stabilize localized distortions in space-time. Physicists recount theoretical models that incorporate elements of quantum entanglement, nonlinear time dynamics, and probabilistic outcomes. Intelligence officers detail protocols for verifying the accuracy of temporal predictions, cross-referencing psychic impressions with real-world events, and ensuring that human error or cognitive bias did not compromise the integrity of results. The convergence of theory, technology, and human cognition creates a compelling narrative, a carefully orchestrated system in which experimentation, observation, and ethical restraint coexist in a delicate high-stakes balance. Whistleblowers also hint at extraordinary applications of these principles beyond laboratory settings. Some describe predictive analysis used to anticipate geopolitical events, operations in which temporal-informed intelligence provided unusual foresight, and limited cases where physical experiments were conducted under extreme secrecy to test displacement or observation on small scales. While concrete evidence remains classified, repeated accounts from independent sources suggest consistency in experiences, procedures, and observed outcomes. Whether observing small-scale object displacement, psychic foreknowledge, or subtle temporal anomalies, these insiders collectively paint a picture of a program that was ambitious, complex, and profoundly human. Finally, insider accounts highlight a theme central to understanding the entirety of temporal research: the interplay of wonder, danger, and responsibility. Whistleblowers often describe a sense of awe when observing phenomena that challenge conventional understanding of physics and consciousness. At the same time, there is caution, ethical debate, and sometimes fear, an awareness that the manipulation or even observation of time carries consequences that extend far beyond the laboratory. They underscore the tension between curiosity and control, discovery and restraint, ambition and ethical responsibility. Their testimonies reveal a world where human ingenuity pushes against the boundaries of time, yet where the weight of knowledge is carried with careful deliberation and a profound awareness of its potential impact. Chapter 15: The Possibility of Temporal Reality. As we draw closer to the culmination of our journey through the shadowed corridors of temporal research, we arrive at a question that is as profound as it is tantalizing. Could time manipulation, once considered the realm of science fiction, actually exist in a controlled and observable form? The answer, as suggested by decades of experimentation, whistleblower testimony, and fragments of declassified research, is that time travel, or at the very least controlled temporal observation, may be more than mere speculation. It exists perhaps, not as a fully realized ability, but as a series of carefully constrained experiments and phenomena that reveal tantalizing glimpses into the fabric of reality itself. To begin exploring this possibility, we must first consider the fundamental principles of physics that govern our understanding of time. Time, as described by Einstein's theories of relativity, is not an absolute constant, but a flexible dimension intertwined with space itself. The curvature of space-time, the dilation of time experienced at relativistic speeds, and the theoretical existence of wormholes all suggest that, under extreme conditions, the flow of time could be manipulated or traversed in ways that exceed our everyday experience. Retired CIA physicists and engineers have hinted that such principles were central to experimental designs. By stabilizing minute distortions in spacetime, or by employing high-energy electromagnetic fields, they may have created conditions under which objects, or perhaps even human consciousness, could interact with time in a controlled manner. Insider accounts provide fascinating, if fragmentary, insights into these experiments. One scientist described the temporary displacement of a small metallic object which vanished from one chamber and reappeared minutes later, its physical properties slightly altered in ways consistent with exposure to extraordinary energy fields. Another whistleblower recalled chronoscopic sessions in which trained participants reported perceiving events that had not yet occurred, later confirmed to have taken place as observed. These reports, while extraordinary, are remarkably consistent across independent sources, suggesting that something tangible was being observed, an interaction with time that was subtle, localized, and carefully controlled, but undeniably present. The integration of consciousness into temporal observation is another critical factor. Former participants frequently describe the human mind acting as both a receptor and a stabilizing influence within temporal experiments. Remote viewers from programs like Stargate were occasionally tasked not merely with gathering intelligence, but with perceiving potential futures, effectively extending the temporal reach of the experiments. In some instances, participants reported a sense of time-like overlap, in which past, present, and future seemed to coexist in a single, coherent perceptual field. These experiences, though difficult to quantify, provide compelling evidence that temporal reality may be experienced as a continuum rather than a strictly linear progression, and that human perception may play a role in accessing or interacting with this continuum. The implications of these experiments extend far beyond laboratory walls. If controlled temporal observation is possible, then even partial time manipulation could revolutionize intelligence, strategy, and understanding of complex systems. Some insiders have suggested that predictive modeling, informed by temporal principles, is already being applied in covert operations, national security, and strategic planning. By anticipating events before they fully unfold, analysts may gain a subtle but decisive advantage, enhancing both decision-making and operational effectiveness. The ethical, philosophical, and practical ramifications of this capability are profound, touching upon free will, causality, and the responsibilities inherent in possessing knowledge of the future. Whistleblowers also describe what might be called temporal anomalies, unexpected events that defy conventional explanation, often coinciding with experimental interventions. Objects displaced without apparent cause, patterns emerging in intelligence data that seemed improbable, and fleeting phenomena observed during remote viewing sessions all hint at a universe in which time is not entirely rigid, but responsive to observation, energy, and consciousness. These anomalies, while rare and often subtle, provide a thread of continuity linking decades of research and suggesting that time travel or temporal manipulation may not be entirely beyond human reach. Moreover, some insiders hinted intersections between human experimentation and extraterrestrial technology. Recovered devices from unidentified aerial phenomena reportedly exhibited properties that might allow for temporal displacement or observation. Engineers and physicists, though constrained by secrecy, were allegedly tasked with understanding and replicating these effects, providing a tantalizing link between alien technology and the evolution of human temporal research. Though conclusive evidence remains classified, these accounts reinforce the notion that temporal reality may be more than theoretical, and that advanced civilizations, if they exist, may have already mastered aspects of time manipulation that humanity is only beginning to explore. The philosophical dimensions of temporal reality are equally compelling. If time can be observed, influenced, or traversed even partially, what does that mean for the human experience? Whistleblowers frequently describe a sense of awe and humility when confronting these experiments. The realization that time is not absolute, that choices ripple across dimensions of possibility, and that human agency may operate in ways we have yet to fully understand. The ethical burden of such knowledge is profound, requiring careful deliberation, restraint, and reflection. Participants often described a heightened sense of responsibility, knowing that even the smallest action, if amplified through temporal insight, could have unforeseen consequences. This awareness has guided protocols, limited interventions, and ensured that temporal experimentation, however advanced, is conducted with caution and respect for both human and cosmic order. In evaluating the possibility of temporal reality, one must also consider the cumulative weight of evidence. Declassified documents, eyewitness testimony, leaked schematics, anecdotal accounts, and indirect references to successful experiments. While no publicly available experiment has fully demonstrated large-scale human time travel, the consistency of reports across decades and independent sources suggests a controlled ongoing exploration of temporal principles. From micro-object displacement to chronoscopic observation, from predictive modeling to psychic experimentation, the data hint at a continuum of experimentation in which the boundaries of what is possible are steadily being tested, measured, and refined. Perhaps most importantly, the existence of temporal reality, if even in a partial controlled form, challenges our understanding of history, causality, and the limits of human knowledge. It invites a re-evaluation of how we perceive events, decisions, and outcomes, suggesting that the flow of time may be more malleable than we imagine, and that even small interventions or observations can have profound implications. It reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge, particularly of such fundamental dimensions as time itself, carries both promise and responsibility. And it leaves us, the observers, with a sense of wonder, a recognition that there may still be corners of reality yet uncharted, experiments yet unrecorded, and possibilities yet unseen, waiting quietly within the hidden laboratories of history and the minds of those who dare to peer beyond the limits of the present.